Donald Trump has also picked Tulsi Gabbard to be the Director of National Intelligence. This pick is monumental in its implications for the security of this nation. I can't say that enough. I can't even speak with bombosity around this because of the seriousness of it. She will be over in her position the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI, all of the United States intelligence agencies. And why does that matter? Maybe you don't know who this Tulsi Gabbard is. She's a congresswoman from the state of Hawaii. Since 2013 to 2021, she was a congresswoman. During that time, she built relationships with the United States of America's enemies, Vladimir Putin. She has appeared on state-sponsored Russian television programs in support of a connection with Vladimir Putin. She has met with Bashar al-Assad of Syria, to the dismay of both parties, because of the human rights violations that were committed and are continuing to be committed in Syria in this civil war that has lasted almost 9-10 years now. These are the type of people that she parlays with. And so there's no doubt in my mind that Vladimir Putin doesn't have to send a spy to the United States ever again. That's the good news. The bad news is because the greatest spy is going to be the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who will not hesitate to ensure that the use of the CIA on Americans won't be inhibited. She won't stand in the way of that. In fact, she is going to withdraw. She's going to pull all of our assets on the international stage and turn their direction to two things. One, how do they support Vladimir Putin? And two, how do they support Donald Trump? By attacking Americans, by investigating Americans, by surveilling Americans, by kinetic action against Americans. You think Tulsi Gabbard won't sign off on an assignment, on a assignment that will get somebody in the United States of America targeted by our own spies, by our own agents, by our own operatives? You think she won't make sure that what we end up with in the United States of America will something that will make Stasi land look like a fantasy? You think she won't turn the CIA internally into the KGB while she delivers all of America's secrets directly? They don't have to go through anybody else. She'll be able to text message it directly to Vladimir Putin. I guarantee you he has her on speed dial, especially now that Donald Trump has picked her to be the Director of National Intelligence. We are going into a very dark time in this country. We're going into a time where we won't be able to trust the very institutions that sustained and created and sustained this country. We're going into a time where we won't be able to trust the authorities over us because of the decisions that they are making, that they have already mapped out in Project 2025. There's no question about it where we're headed. Some people might still be confused, but let me clear up the confusion for you. We're headed to a time that if you oppose MAGA, you will be investigated by the FBI. That if you oppose MAGA, that you might find a CIA agent sitting outside your front door. If you attack or if you even oppose MAGA, that you will find yourself with the Department of Homeland Security on your heels. We are moving into a time, if you say anything negative about dear leader Donald Trump, that you will find yourself in the hole somewhere in Guantanamo Bay. You know this country does this really good, waterboarding you because you had the nerve to stand up against the MAGA beast. And no one would like to implement that better than Tulsi Gabbard. For whatever reason, I'm not really sure. See, Robert Kennedy Jr., I can understand his motivations to do harm to the world because of the harm that was done to him by Sirhan Sirhan against his father. I kind of can contextualize it and see it through that lens. I don't really know about what happened to Tulsi that turned her into I got to watch my mouth because she might investigate me, but turned her into somebody who would be a servant of Vladimir Putin. Someone who would side with Vladimir Putin against Ukraine as Ukraine attempts to defend itself from an aggressor who wants to also be their oppressor. Tulsi Gabbard picked the wrong side. She picked the wrong side in Syria. She's picked the wrong side in the United States of America. She used to be a Democrat. She's a turncoat. Just like the rest of these people who are traitors, turncoats and traitors, the whole lot of them. They are betraying the United States of America. They are betraying the Constitution. They are betraying the very fundamentals of democracy. Why? I don't know their personal rationale, but I know one thing collectively: they're tired of democracy. They're tired of democracy within the United States of America, and they are tired of democracy on the international stage. And so what they want is a strong man. Well, they ought to know something we know in the black church about strong men. Strong men are exactly when God steps in. Strong man, you got to leave here. You can't stay here. You might be here for a season, weep and may endure for a night. I didn't mean to preach, y'all. But this thing with Tulsi Gabbard, this insanity, this absurdity, this affront to America that is Tulsi Gabbard will now be able to send any number of spies she wants to come and take you out, take me out, take all of us out, instead of our spies doing what they have done in the past, spying on other nations, like all nations do. I know somebody in the comment section already right now saying, this is what they're going to say. You say, it's okay for our spies to do it to them. Yes, because their spies do it to us. But it's totally different when it's spy versus Tulsi Gabbard being the director of national intelligence. Is there not a single Republican who actually likes America enough to reject this appointment? That's the question I got to ask. Is there not a single Republican who is brave enough and loves America enough to reject this appointment? Probably not. You saw how they voted a couple weeks ago. This is what they want. Why? Because, well, democracy became too much of an impediment for them. Meritocracy meant that they actually had to compete against black people, against Spanish, Latinos, against Mexicans, against Jews. They have to compete against everybody, against Muslims, against Arabs. Meritocracy meant that they actually had to be better than us. So instead of actually stepping up to the plate and actually becoming better and being actual supreme, they said, forget about that. Let's get rid of America. Let's get rid of democracy. Let's turn it over to Vladimir Putin. And who better to do it than Tulsi Gabbard?